reality first and foremost through his prayer life.
Well, Dr. Baldwin, you know, you've had a chance to deal with Dr. King over many, many years. And do you think that his reputation is becoming, what do you think about his reputation at this time?
I think there's a tendency today to domesticate Dr. King. We often, the Glenn Beck demonstration last year in August, or this year I should say, in August of 2010, was staged as an event designed to promote the civil rights movement. I think what we see today is a disturbing pattern in the sense that people are distorting that legacy. They're using that legacy to support particular kinds of agendas. And Dr. King was not about right-wing agendas. He was about the liberation of people from racism, from classism and economic exploitation, from war and human destruction, from religious bigotry and intolerance. Dr. King was about liberating and empowering people, not about disempowering and disenabling people. And I think we have to keep that in mind as we celebrate.
Would you predict a greater celebration this year because of that? And why would we celebrate? We've got a black president now, and what does that mean?
Yes, but I think Dr. King would say that we have not yet reached the promised land.
Okay.
That, we have an African American in the White House, but we still have a long way to go in terms of achieving not only economic justice, but in overcoming racism and overcoming the problem of war. Dr. King, toward the end of his life, said that the two most important issues that we confront are economic justice and international peace. So we got to deal with the economic injustice in our society, the classism in our society, and we got to deal with the war and the human destruction.
And all of that would eventually bring Dr. King's legacy, make it a reality for a lot of people.
Yes, in terms of the realization of what he called the beloved
community. Very good. And of course, Dr. Baldwin, we've got about 2 minutes. You've got another book here, Never to Leave Us Alone, The Prayer Life. So what about The Voice of Conscience?
The Voice of Conscience is a book that looks at images of the church in Dr. King's life. And it too is about Dr. King's spirituality. But I focus on biblical images of the church as temple of God, the church as covenant community, the church as body of Christ, and also some cultural historical images such as the church as conscience of the state, the church as moral guardian of society. So that book too is about Dr. King's spirituality. And I think in order to understand his spirituality, you must focus on both his prayer life, and also take into account how he viewed the church and how he launched his movement
out of the church in a real sense.
Because the church became a kind of focal point, a rallying point, a source of inspiration for the civil rights movement that he led.
And you know, it's hard to argue against the church if you're talking about equality, you see, and so that would be the forum.
That's right.
That you would think about all men being created equal and et cetera. And so it makes a lot of sense to think in terms of him being a spiritual leader and at the same time dependent upon the church and building around.
Because the church was the custodian of his spirituality. It was through the church that he developed spiritual maturity and this sense of his own spirituality. So we have to take both into account.
Say something, Dr. Baldwin, in 30 seconds about going to church.
I think that's important, and when you read Dr. King's speeches and his interviews and his letters, that is very, very important. I think a lot of us today don't consider that to be very important. It's not about simply going to church, but participating in the life of the church through tithing, through participating in other activities in the church. That was quite important for Dr. King, because first and foremost, he was not only a man of spirituality, but he was a man of the church as well.
Good. He was a man of God, too.
Yeah.
And of course, let me thank you, Dr. Baldwin, for bringing that excellent information to us. And let me encourage our audience to tune in again next week for another informative edition of Comments. Thank you, and good morning.